So this is a sample prenatal class that you can use as a guide, and it works for any trimester. If you're a strength training coach or a personal trainer that's used to doing sessions in the gym, you can take concepts from this workout and apply it to your strength training. Also, our live workshop days, our live days of this course, if you attend that in the future, really focuses on the weight training aspect in the gym. So let's go ahead and start. All you need if you're doing this class is a mat that's laid out, another mat that's rolled up, and a flex band. And it could be any type of band. It could be a flat band like this or those tube bands. That's all fine. So the way the class is going to be structured is we're going to start with breathing and pelvic floor awareness. Then we're going to mobilize the big four, the feet, the hips, the thoracic spine, and the hands or TMJ. And then we're going to do some strengthening of the upper body and the legs. We're going to be really focusing on squats. Squats are very important in prenatal training. We're going to be doing some glute work on the floor and some indirect core work to finish. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the secondary mat rolled up like this and us sitting on top of it. Now, this is just nice because it gives feedback, as you mentioned, to the pelvic floor and allows you to integrate the breathing with the pelvic floor exercises together. So let's start with our high-low hand position. One hand goes here on the upper chest, one hand goes on the abdomen, and we're going to breathe in for 3 counts, and we're going to breathe out for 6 counts. So remember, the exhale is always going to be longer than the inhale. And this is how they taught us to breathe actually once the contraction started. When I was going to my antenatal classes or preparing for birth classes, they said once the contractions start, in order to keep your nervous system calm, you need to exhale longer than you inhale. That's beneficial anyway because of the hyperventilation we talked about. But it's good to remind your client of this to prepare them for the labor. Notice if you're breathing fully into the upper chest, and try to keep that area somewhat quiet and feel like you're inhaling to push the baby away from you, and as you exhale, feel your muscles pulling your baby close to you. And we'll do that maybe for another 2 rounds, just bringing awareness to the breath. And now let's bring awareness to our pelvic floor on our exhalation. So the weakest part of the pelvic floor for most women after the delivery is the back area, the levator ani muscles. So we're going to think about this time as we're contracting our pelvic floor, we're going to think about bringing the tailbone, the coccyx, to the pubic bone. So think about that hammock. And think about bringing the tailbone to the pubic bone and then lifting on that exhale. Inhale to release. Think of that hammock going back. And then as you exhale, feel the contraction coming from the back passage to the front passage and up. Or from the back passage to the middle and front and up. And then inhale, release. 2, 3. Exhale, pull up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So notice how going from tailbone to pubic bone feels quite different than just pulling your pelvic floor muscles up, right? And you really notice this, or your clients will really notice this after they've delivered, that often certain parts of the pelvic floor feel weaker than others. And a lot of the clients I've dealt with have been quite surprised that it was actually the back passage part or the back area of the pelvic floor that felt the weakest. So think about tailbone to pubic bone and then lifting from that front middle passage up. And then inhale to release. Feel like you're lifting away from the pad. Exhale, go tailbone to pubic bone and lift. Inhale to release. And we're going to apply some of this pelvic floor contractions to our squats in a little bit. So now let's go ahead and take 1 foot here and 1 foot here if your client has the flexibility to do so. And just opening up the knees and hips a little bit, continuing to focus on breath and pelvic floor. Breathe in to prepare. Exhale, pull the tailbone to the pubic bone. And sometimes doing these bony cues really helps get the right dosage of contraction without it being too excessive. Just sitting in this position is quite beneficial for both pre and post as well, because it helps to widen the pelvis, but also in the postnatal, it helps realign the sacrum. Keep your chest lifted. And if your client has the ability to do so, we're going to squat up. Otherwise, get them to come on all fours and come up in any way they like. Let's get rid of this for now, though we'll use it in a bit for some thoracic mobility. Let's warm up our feet. So take your right foot or left foot forward and just circle your heel, planting your big toe and little toe on the floor. Foot mobility is extremely important during pregnancy. As you know, it helps circulate the lymph, keep the reduction of swelling in the feet and ankles, keep the spaces open for all those free nerve endings. Change direction. And keeps the signaling, because the bump itself is, as we mentioned in the nerve flossing section, the bump itself blocks a lot of nerve passages. It doesn't block them completely, but it certainly makes the signals a little bit weaker, particularly depending on how much constriction you have in your hips and SI joints. Now take the other foot forward and circle the heel, keeping the big toe and little toe on the floor. Think about like massaging the ball of the foot against the floor, and then change direction. So I'd say 1 or 2 mobilizations for each of the joints that we mentioned. So we did 1, which is the ball of foot circles. You can also kind of do this just to flex the toes underneath and open up spaces here around the cuneiform bones, the cuboid. Cuboid, especially if you tilt your heel out to the side and then in where the cuneiform is, where the navicular bones are, in and out, in and out. That can feel quite nice. And then change. Heel goes out, heel goes in. Obviously, if the toes are very stiff, this will just feel painful. So make sure you take the foot behind you. It's a softer flex, and the mat has to be very, very soft underneath you, or put a pillow. And relax. Moving up now, we did our feet. Now hips we're going to do on the floor, and then we're going to focus on the spine now. So take your feet a little bit wider than hip distance and just swing your arms around. Get one hand to hit the shoulder, one hand to hit the kidney. Notice how my heel is lifting so I don't create too much twist in the bump area. I'm twisting as one block. Great. Let's go one more time on each side, but realistically you want to do this for about a minute. And then come back to center, bring your feet hip distance again, circle your shoulders. Remember, when I say feet hip distance for pregnant women, that will be a little bit wider than usual, just because the base of support is wider. We're warming up the shoulders as well, actually, because we're going to be doing some upper body work with the band. Circle forward. Let the arms here hang heavy. With your nose, draw a horizontal figure of 8. Imagine your nose is a pen and it's drawing a sideways 8. Change direction. And go slow if you're feeling dizzy. I couldn't do this when I was pregnant. I was getting super dizzy. Your nervous system just becomes so much more sensitive. Now take the feet a little bit wider than hip distance. We're going to warm up with some squats. So again, with pregnancy, squats are really important, obviously for many, many reasons. For the birth itself, for the recovery, for just keeping your legs strong throughout. It's a pretty comfortable way of training. Now, how deep you go really depends on a multitude of factors. Start them off with parallel, allowing their knees to drive forward as their hips go back. So remember that cue of don't let the knees go over the toes. That's incorrect now. Biomechanics. The biomechanics of a squat means the knees have to drive forward as the hips go back. If you insist the client doesn't let the knees go over the toes, they'll likely squat incorrectly and go too far forward with their trunk and not get enough dorsiflexion at the ankle. So we want as much dorsiflexion as possible. If they're comfortable going all the way down, that can be really, really nice to prepare them for the delivery itself and opening up the hips, allowing the pelvis to soften and widen. And now let's integrate some of that pelvic floor cueing. We're going to inhale to come down into our squat, and then as we come up, we're going to draw our tailbone to our pubic bone and think of that hammock contraction going from the back to the front. Inhale to come down. Exhale, push the ground underneath you and draw the pelvic floor up at the same time. So remember, pelvic floor contractions are done in simple exercises such as this one. We don't have to go all the way down. You can go just to parallel or to a seated position. It's okay if the spine flexes at the end. It probably will do. Again, this will allow some nice stretch in the lower back. Inhale to come down. Allow the tailbone to tuck under it a little bit as well, and then exhale, push into your feet, squeeze your glutes on the way up. Let's turn this into a sumo squat now. We go wider. Turn your toes out, knees pointing the toes, legs are externally rotated as you come down. After the baby comes, the inner thighs go super mental. They get really, really tight. The adductor muscles get really tight for most women. So it's a good idea to get them sort of more opened up to prep. Now let's think of the pelvic floor in a different way. We're going to focus on the sitting bones coming together as we come up. So inhale, widen your sitting bones. As you stretch your legs, think of your sitting bones coming together and focusing on that middle passage contraction. Inhale to release and widen. Exhale, draw the muscles in. So you're focusing on the triangle of the urogenital tract. And then inhale to release and widen the sit bones. Exhale, draw your sit bones together and lift. So there's different parts to the pelvic floor, and the more brain-body connected you are to this muscle, the more you feel it's very different bringing your sit bones together or bringing your tailbone to your pubic bone. And this allows you to notice after the baby comes which area feels weaker, and if there's good proprioception beforehand, that will help the client or the pregnant lady or the postnatal lady identify much more where her weaknesses are. And of course, they would go for an exam with the physio, and the physio can confirm that. And you can use dumbbells here at the same time. If you want to intensify things a little bit, we can stay here and do a little bit of knee openings, driving out, 2, 3, over a long exhalation, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, lower just a little bit. Exhale, open 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, lower just a little bit. Exhale to push up. I highly recommend bar classes for pregnant women who like to do body weight, who don't want to go to the gym. Then they can go and do bar classes because it's very pregnancy friendly up until they get to the core work. But most of the classes focus on the legs, the upper body, using some light dumbbells, some bands, things like that. And most of the leg work is done upright or on the side, which is all allowed in prenatal. Let's do some band work now. We're going to step on the band with one leg. We're going to lean forward and we're going to pull back as we exhale. Plow back and return. So in this exercise, we want our arms straight. It's chest expansion from Pilates. You're expanding your chest, so think of opening and widening your collarbones as you pull back. Leaning forward slightly. and don't allow your shoulders to roll forward. For most of the upper body work though with pregnancy, focus on a balanced push-pull routine in the weight room, but particularly the pulling exercises will be important because of all the carrying that's to come. Let's do some pulses here, breathing out continuously for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, hold. Let's do another 8, exhale 1, 2, you should feel your triceps burning, but also try and extend your shoulders from the back. So your lats are working too, not just your arms. 8, and switch feet. Put the other foot in and reach back, and again pull 1, exhale, pull 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, hold it back and pulse back. 1, 2, 3, 4. You add the breath work here, long exhalations as you do these pulses. Hold on the inhale. Let's go 1 for pulses of 8. Breathing out continuously. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is more of a pushing action, but if you want to do more pulling, we could just widen the feet on the band like this and do something of a bent over row. So leaning forward, pull back. And of course, if you've got weights, that works better almost. But here, watch that you don't see any coning when they're leaning forward, that the abdominal muscles are drawn up and in. It's a good way of indirectly working the core. The spine should be neutral, not rounded. And you really want to think of squeezing those shoulder blades together. You could do a post-exhaust system where you do your compound bent over row, say for example for 8 to 10 repetitions, immediately follow it by some bicep curls to fatigue the biceps a little bit more. So biceps work when you're doing pulling motions, so then you do the isolation exercise right after. You could do post-exhaust also with pushing motions and triceps. So you could do push-ups against the wall or on the floor, followed by a tricep exercise. So compound followed by isolation of the synergist. So push-ups works the chest muscles as well as the triceps as the synergist or the helpers. You do your tricep exercise right after your push-ups. And the same thing with the pulling exercises. You do a pulling exercise which works your back muscles as well as your biceps, and then you fatigue the biceps just a little bit more by doing a set of isolation exercises just after it. So for those of you who are not personal trainers and you're more in the Pilates world or yoga, you maybe not be familiar with post-exhaust sets, but that means compound, meaning multi-joint, multi-muscle, followed by isolation of the same muscles worked. So that can be very beneficial because a lot of pregnant women need to work on their muscular endurance of the upper body in order to withstand all of this carrying and breastfeeding, etc. Okay, so say we've done now our squats and we've done maybe some deadlifts even to work the posterior chain standing up. And you could do deadlifts again with the band if they're quite weak. If they're very trained, this probably will be a little too weak for them. But again, you need to just focus on the client that you have in front of you. If you're doing a home visit and the bands are too light, then focus on the glutes and hamstrings now on the floor, which is what we're going to do. So we're on the floor, and to maybe give them a rest from what they were doing standing, we could do a little bit of thoracic mobilization first. So taking advantage that we have this rolled up mat, you put the mat underneath the ribs, you bend the bottom leg, stretch the top leg, side bend over the mat like this, and then just get them to breathe laterally here into the left-hand side of the rib cage, maybe even going a little bit into flexion, rolling towards the floor, and then a little bit into extension, opening up to the ceiling. This will really open up space in the rib cage and their diaphragm. It will mobilize the facet joints of the thoracic spine. And if you do it in time with the breath, it feels really lovely. And then we can come up to sitting and warm up the hips in a Z set position. So when I say warm up the hips, I mean work on the hips. We're past the warm-up stage. So here, you can check if both sitting bones are on the floor or not. If this one is way up here, that means my left internal rotation needs work. If this one is up here, that means my right external hip rotation needs work. So this would be the aim, is to be able to get both sit bones down. And obviously, if they're in the end of the pregnancy, this will be a very difficult position to get into. They may need to lean back like that. And then what they can do here is just work on the opening up space at the front of the hip joint by taking the left hand across the right shoulder, twisting, and lifting the left sitting bone so that they're opening up space for the psoas here, and then coming down. And then again, twist, and then coming down. Twist. This is mobilizing both the spine and the hip joint in the socket itself, and feels quite nice to do. We're gonna strengthen the glutes in a little bit. So notice how with pregnancy it's nice to balance out some mobility and then strength, and then mobility and strength. It doesn't have to be always all the mobility in the beginning and then suddenly it's hardcore. They usually welcome a little bit of a break in the middle between the strength sets or the endurance or the muscle burn that you're working on. They usually welcome a little bit of a break. You could even take it to the front, continue to do some hip spirals here, or even some foot and ankle mobility again before we go to the other side and we stretch. Again, bend the bottom leg, top leg is straight. Do a little bit of your thoracic movements here, where we're flexing towards the floor, and then inhale, we're opening up towards the ceiling. Just feeling really like the breath is initiating this movement, and just noticing any differences we have one side to the other. Once you've done about a few minutes of that, you come up, you do your spirals, opening space for your psoas, opening space for the front of the hip joint, and twisting to a point where it doesn't feel uncomfortable at the bump. Nice. So we go, usually on an exhalation that will work better. And then again, you could do some hip spirals and stuff like that. So let's go ahead now and work on the posterior muscles, the glutes. And we're going to do some bridges and some clams with and without the band. So since we've got this elevation, it's actually nice to put your feet on something. Now I know we said pregnant women shouldn't be on their back, but in a bridge position, they're not going to be there for too long. And obviously, if they're in the end of the pregnancy and it's uncomfortable, then you're just going to do it maybe on a Swiss ball, head and shoulders on a Swiss ball, or on the sofa, and they're just lifting their bottom so that they're higher up rather than at this decline. So press down into the elevated surface, squeeze the bottom and lift, bringing the sit bones together, and come down halfway, widening your sit bones, and then as you exhale, bring the sit bones together again, pushing your feet into the elevated surface. So inhale to come down, exhale, squeeze the bottom and lift, come down, squeeze and lift. Remember, this is the chance to really try and get them thinking about their mind-muscle connection and the details. Inhale to widen the sit bones, exhale, bring it up. We can even add some pelvic floor contractions here with the sit bone cueing. Think of bringing your sit bones together and drawing up as you lift your hips. If it's too easy, we're going to hold at the top here and really imagine that you're going to roll this mat to your bottom as if you're going to do a hamstring curl. Holding here for about 1 minute. If it's done mindfully, you'll get the glutes and hamstrings really communicating. If you're feeling any discomfort in your lower back, then you need to tilt your pelvis posteriorly a little bit. So think of, there's a cup of tea here, you want to spill that cup of tea over your tummy. And then that should relieve pressure off the lower back and put all the tension into the glutes and hamstrings themselves. And then release. Then we can do the same with the feet touching and the knees a little bit wider. We go up and down again like this. This is just going to activate the lateral fibers of the hamstrings and a little bit different fibers of the glutes as we go up. And then we hold At the top, say we've done about 10 to 15. Then we hold for another minute here, actively trying to roll the mat towards our bottom in our head. So we're not going to actually roll the mat towards the bottom. We're going to actively try to do that. And relax. Of course, you could do single leg, but a lot of pregnant women, their SI joint is quite vulnerable. So doing any single leg stuff can sometimes set off some SIJ discomfort. So I usually avoid that sort of thing, and especially we don't know if they have any symphysis pubic discomfort as well. That could also aggravate. You could do all your bridges like this with your fingers pointing back. You can squeeze and lift and then come down, squeeze and lift and come down. For some pregnant women, this is comfortable. For others, depending on their shoulder flexibility, it may not be. But usually if you start to do single leg here, it doesn't bother the SI as much, the sacroiliac joint as much. So that's another option. Of course, you've got all your clams and sideline work that you can do. So when you're doing clams, make sure the feet and the hips and the trunk are all in one line, and you imagine the cup of tea is here, and you don't want to spill that cup of tea anywhere. Some people do it at 90 degrees. That's perfectly fine also. I usually like to alternate. It just works the hip joint in different ways. And then if you want to add the bands or resistance, obviously now they've got a lot of these small bands in the gyms, so you could just loop the small band around. But if you don't have one, like I don't have one here, I'm just going to anchor my fist down on the floor to create even resistance as I open against the band. Clams are really comfortable during pregnancy because they're working the glutes in the external rotation roll, and they're not necessarily involving the hamstrings, which is nice because normally they always work together in the hip extension exercises. And you can come up to here on the elbow to work on shoulder stability and just work on the gluteus medius as a finisher after that set of clams. Yeah? A lot of people like to do side-lying stuff and then something in the middle before they do side-lying again. Rather than, oh, now we've got to do all this on the other side. Let's do something before we go to the other side. So we could either do an inner thigh stretch. So we're going to widen the legs here, sit really nice and tall, lift your arms, and then we go to the side on the inhale. Exhale, fold over the bump. We go to the other side and then lift. This will obviously be for your more flexible clients. Some of your clients will not be comfortable in this position at all because they'll be starting right about here. Maybe get them to just do a little bit of pelvic tilts like this if you've got a stiffer client. Breathing out here, breathing in to lift. And this is stretching their adductors, but at the same time actually mobilizing their spine. And then we can do the other side. We can lay down. We'll do the clams again for about 10 to 15 reps. I'm not going to take you through the full workout now. I'm obviously summarizing so that you can go and do it with your clients. And then you would do another set with the resistance. And then you would come up and you would do your side leg lifts again. And remember, take the principles of this workout and mix it up and vary it with your background, because it's very easy to be creative in your prenatal classes once you understand, okay, these are the areas I need to work on. I could do this, I could do this, I could do this, I could do many, many different things. Play around with the angles of these as well. So it's not just parallel. Work on internal rotation to get more TFL, TFL gluteus medius activation. Maybe some external rotation to work a little bit more into the psoas as well. Then we're going to go in all fours. And here we're doing some indirect core activation. We're basically literally just going to lift the baby up and hug it close to us. And gravity is acting as our weight. And then release, but no coning. So just allow your tummy to release on the inhale. On the exhale, we lift. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add the pelvic floor, tailbone to pubic bone contraction, focusing on the levator ani muscles again. So we're going to go inhale to prepare, exhale, draw your tailbone to your pubic bone, and you can even do a slight actual pelvic tilt and lift the baby close to you. And then inhale, release and widen your sit bones. Exhale, draw your tailbone to your pubic bone, hug the baby close to you. The upper spine should not be moving. This is not a cat stretch. We're literally just doing a pelvic tilt with a slight lumbar flexion. If your client is strong enough to do maybe some hovered knees, like a quarter plank position, that's fine. Breathing here. Some clients are actually strong enough to do planks. I remember that for me, the plank felt fine to do in pregnancy, even in the second trimester, but something like a lat pull down felt too much intra-abdominal pressure. So you've just got to educate your client what intra-abdominal pressure feels like. This sudden increase in contraction in the abdominals in a way that doesn't feel controlled. They'll know exactly what you mean because they will feel it in many different things during the pregnancy. So sometimes you could ask them even to just lift their bottom a little bit. But for most women, I would avoid planks like this unless they've got a very strong upper body, and just maybe do more of a slightly elevated bottom or knees hovering above the ground. And then from there, we could just do a little bit of thoracic mobility towards the end of the workout, or some push-ups if we still have some energy. And we change, inhaling to open up towards the ceiling. This one does feel really nice for most pregnant women. We can come back into our sort of birthing position here before we come up, just rocking a little bit in the deep squat, getting them comfortable with that, putting an elevation underneath the heels for them to get comfortable in the deep squat. Obviously, if the bump is already in the later stages, third trimester, probably this will be very uncomfortable. So just play it by ear. Stretch and roll up. And we're going to finish with some wrist work. The blood pressure tends to be quite low throughout the rest of the pregnancy, so just make sure that when they come up, they don't come up too suddenly, and then change direction. Most pregnant women, very sensitive to going up and down, and this is why if you're a Pilates teacher, most clients, at least from my experience, most of them have told me they prefer reformer rather than mat because of this whole up and down on the floor. They like to be a little bit higher so they don't get so dizzy. Let's do some median nerve floss just to prevent carpal tunnel. So we're going to reach the fingertips towards the floor, take the ear to the opposite direction, extend the wrist and circle. Keep the shoulder depressed here. Can you feel that nerve? Change direction. And we go to the other side, reach the fingertips down, ear to the side, extend the wrist, circle 1, 2, 3, change direction, 1, 2, 3, and relax. So I hope that you were able to use some of these exercises in different ways to accommodate what your background is. Remember, the main thing is breathing and pelvic floor awareness, followed by some mobilizations of the big four, followed by some strength training of the areas that you know tend to get weak during pregnancy and after, that you know they need to prepare for, and followed by some loaded deep core activation like we did at the end, with again some mobility mixed in either for thoracic or hips, and then finishing off with something to relieve the neck tension or sciatica or whatever your client is experiencing. So do let us know if you have any questions on the portal itself. Now we're going to start sitting on the reformer with the legs on either side. Now this is useful for anybody to sit on a chair, facing the back of the chair with the legs open. Legs open helps us connect to our pelvic floor better. Let's put Springs for footwork, lying down sideways. So for the peak Pilates, it would be 2 blues and a red. And on the balanced body and marathon, I would probably two reds and a blue. 2 reds and a blue. Hands here on the foot bar. And let's start with breathing first. Just keeping the shoulders down. Breathing in through the nose. And out through the mouth. As you inhale, expand your belly, pushing the baby away from you. And as you exhale, think of wrapping and hugging the baby nice and close to you. Let your stomach move. Let your bump move. The nice thing about breathing with the hands on the wall or the hands on the foot bar is it doesn't make our shoulders rise up. So we cannot upper chest breathe when our hands are in a closed chain. Put your hands here behind them and focus on 3-dimensional breathing. Ask them to breathe into your hands give them counts. People always breathe better when you give them counts. We're breathing in, 2, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4, and inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, connect, zipping up through your core. Imagine there's a zipper front and back of your body, and you're zipping up, pulling the baby close to you. And the diaphragm is what's lifting everything in and up, and spelled as the TVA, of course. Now, as we exhale, we're going to round the spine, the thoracic spine, like you're doing a cat stretch. And as you inhale, lift your chest and sternum up. As you exhale, we go back and round. And inhale, extend. This prenatal class is mostly focused on people in their 2nd and 3rd trimesters, because as you know, in the 1st trimester, everything's a go as long as she feels good. Exhale, we go back and round. Inhale, extend and lift the breastbone. And let's go. Exhale, back and round one more time. Spread the vertebra and extend. Go to the diagonal, just a slight. You don't want a deep twisting when you're in the last trimester. Just to the corner of the foot bar is fine. Breathe out, round. As I'm twisted to the right, it's my left vertebrae that are opening. Inhale, extend. Exhale, we go back and round. Inhale, extend. Let's go to the other side. Now as I'm twisted to the left, it's my right vertebrae that are opening. Inhale, extend. Exhale, back and round. And extend. One more time. And come back to center. Lift my left arm. As I side bend to the right, I need to make my left sitting bone heavy. Drive my left sitting bone down. Switch arms. Reach up through the right arm. As I lean over and side bend to the left, I make my right sitting bone heavy. And then I slowly come all the way up. And let's do one more time on each side. Reach. And then return. And then up. Reach. And return. Before we lie down to do footwork, let's take a moment to just bring awareness to our pelvic floor muscles here. So move your flesh out of the way. Sometimes I'll get them to sit on the ball if it's comfortable. If you have like this position, it's quite nice because now I'm sitting on the ball. I've got more awareness of my pelvic floor. So if you think of the diamond shape of bones you're sitting on, pubic bone, tailbone, 2 sit bones, this diamond shape of bones or perineal area is connected to the ball. And as I exhale, on the next exhale, I'm going to breathe out through pursed lips. And I'm going to think about lifting up away from the ball as if I'm stopping myself from urinating on the exhale. And as I inhale, I want to relax my pelvic floor into the ball. Exhale, I zip up away from the ball. And then inhale, I relax into the ball, or even on the bed. If you don't have a ball, if the ball is too small, this one needs to be a bit bigger. And then exhale, I zip up. Inhale, I release. Exhale, I zip up away from the ball. 2, 3, inhale, release. So it's like you're bringing the 4 corners of the pelvic floor together, of these 4 bones, pubic bone, tailbone, sit bones. Bring them in first and then go up. Rather than thinking of just going up, think of pulling the 4 corners in and then up, like you're going up the elevator. You're holding it at the top to let people out, then you lower the elevator down, the lift, and you relax your pelvic floor with your inhalation. Air is going in, it's relaxing. Let's go up again, zip up and hold it at the top. Let's pulse up, up, up. Notice if you're contracting your glutes, try not to. But if you put your hands on your stomach, you'll notice, or on your bump, you'll notice that your deep core muscles are connecting. Every time your pelvic floor is lifting, you're feeling your baby come closer to you. Up, 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 and relax. Let's get rid of the ball now, or put it actually in the headrest, because we're going to lay down on the side. So we put it here on the headrest. We're going to lay down on our sides, so it's like a little pillow. People are not comfortable with the ball, depending on its size there. Feel free to do this if you want to, this position. I like having the ball there, so I'm going to put it there. Headrest is flat. My bottom leg is tucked in, and my top sorry, I think I just squished I'm going to put the mic here so I don't lose my volume. What I was saying, in case you lost my volume there, is that my bottom leg is tucked in and my top foot is against the corner here. If the bump is really in the way, I would straighten the bottom leg and have it lengthen long. If my bump is spilling and I feel twisted, I would put a little towel underneath the bump here. The top hand is going to go here to prevent me from sliding as I start to push away and return. Exhale, I push away. Inhale, return. Feeling like everything is a core exercise. Pretending you have no legs and only your deep core center is what's pushing you. Pretend to be the key word. Now, of course, you can lie down on the back if it's comfortable. You can definitely put a wedge and do regular footwork, but most women don't find it too comfortable when the bump gets heavy to lay down on the back. They feel a little tight for oxygen. It's not comfortable, and as you know, the weight of the baby can put pressure on the vena cava, and that can make us feel a little starved for air. Now we're going to turn the leg out. But imagine there's a cup of tea here, you don't want to spill it. Exhale, push away. Inhale, return. Think of spiraling your leg out. Now go back to parallel, and this time push with your toes and a high heel. And again, ask them if they need their springs changing. Really play it by ear. Turn the leg out. Keep again the drink here and push away as you exhale, spiraling the leg out, and return. And now that I'm here, I'm going to pulse for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, stretch the legs. Exhale, return for halfway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, stretch, and exhale, bend. Last time, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, stretch, and exhale, park the carriage and return. You can see my leg. We're going to lay down on the back and breathe now, because we're doing bridges. So I'm going to clip this back on. I'm going to put the ball between my knees, heels here, shuffle down between the shoulder rests, create a bit of space here. And as I exhale, I'm going to imprint, peel the spine up. Most women are okay, even in the third trimester, doing this if it's a brief moment, because we're kind of up and down. And you can put your hands on your bump here if that feels better, and then roll down through the spine. Just getting a little bit of spine wave feels good. Some won't want the ball between the knees. They will feel like it's too narrow for them at this stage. So just play it by ear depending on the size of the bowl. If you feel like you're being choked by your bump, just keep your hands here and don't go up as high. You don't have to come up all the way up. Just a little bit of lumbar articulation. Up to here is fine. Little pulses now. Up 1, squeeze the glutes. 3, exhale 4, 5, 6, 7. One more 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and roll through the spine. And you can add more sets and reps depending on the client's energy levels. That was just a filler for us to go to the other side. So go back again, my bottom leg in parallel, inhale, return, drop my heel into that foot bar and making sure that I am not moving up and down the bed. And if this leg, remember, is in the way, have it straight and long and energized. Hip bone stacked on top of hip bone, shoulder stacked on top of shoulder. I'm going to turn my leg out now, only as much as I can still keep a cup of tea here on the top pelvis. I exhale to push away, inhale to return, exhale, push, inhale, return. Spiraling the leg out, making sure it remains spiraled out as I straighten the leg. Good. And then I come back to center. This time I'm going to put my tiptoes and I push away as I exhale, stretching the legs. And then I turn my leg away, an external rotation, still tiptoes, more towards the front corner, and I push away and return. Spiraling the leg out again. Maybe I've chosen a little too heavy of a spring. And pulse, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for the 8 counts of pulses. 7, 8. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, pulse again for 1. The continuous exhalation, pregnant women need to really slow down their breathing. So this is great. 6, 7, 8. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, stretch, and exhale, bend the knee to relax. And push yourself up to sitting. Now, I'm going to get the box because pregnant women tend to be a lot more comfortable sitting on the box. So place the box here. I'm going to put 1 blue spring on the peak. That equates to 1 red spring, I think, on most of the other brands. 1 red on Balanced Body, 1 red on Merrithew. We're going to sit on the box with our feet on the headrest. And we're going to do chest expansion. This back rowing series is going to be really nice for pregnant clients because it's going to strengthen their back muscles, which is going to counter all the effects of breastfeeding, carrying the baby, and all the rest of it. So we're sitting nice and tall. We've got access to the long straps, short straps, whichever one feels it's got tension in front of you. Open the front shoulders and really pretend you have no arms, only back. I know that I keep saying unreal things like pretend you have no legs. Again, pretend now you have no arms and it's only your lats that can pull these straps back. Wide collarbones. Don't park, just come just in front of the body and then pull back again. And this is called chest expansion. So you really want to expand your chest. As you exhale, you press back, staying wide through your collarbones. And then continue with that. But what you're going to do is you're going to flick your hands and the knuckles are going to lead back. Exhale. And as I do 4 more. 4. Exhale, pull back. 3. pull back 2, and 1. Take the arms out here. Exhale, pull back to the side. Rear delt flies. 2. These 5 repetitions are enough. 3, 4, and 5. Make sure they stay closed and they're not arching. Wear the straps around your elbows for open elbows as you exhale. Elbows out. If this is too loose, wear the loops instead of the long ones. And the arms past the ears. Yes, exhale, open. Inhale, close. If there's a lot of tension in the back, lower your elbows down here. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Hold the arms past the ears. Up a centimeter, down a centimeter, up a centimeter, down a centimeter, just to work the back as an isometric. Burn for 8 steps. 4, 3, exhale 2, and 1, relax. Stretch. Okay. Hold the ropes a little bit higher now. It's nice to round the back a little bit. So I've put my index and middle finger through the D ring, and then I sit on my jeans back pockets, just a little bit of a tuck of the tailbone, a little bit of a lift through the core. Inhale, lengthen up nice and tall. So we don't have to have screaming abs here. We just want to kind of sit on our jeans back pocket. We're creating a letter J with our spine, and then go back to an I, just to mobilize the lumbar spine a little bit. It's so used to going into a lordotic. Remember we said that as the bump grows, tends to make us arch a bit. So now we're opening the vertebra to the back as we exhale, and then inhale, extend. Exhale, hold. I could stay here and do a little bit of rowing. Every time I row, I deepen my core contraction. I hug the baby in a little closer to me as I row. And I lengthen up nice and tall. And then I'm going to hold the short loops. And I roll back. And I want to get my biceps really strong here to be able to carry that baby without having too much wrist issues or compensations. Shoulders away from the ears. Balancing a book on our head. If the abs are screaming, come up a little notch. The abs should be whispering, not screaming. That's how you want to describe it to your clients. They usually get what you mean. Elbows are high. They're resting on a table. Please don't make them do this. The elbows stay up, shoulders down. And then roll all the way up to lengthen. And let the head and step down and change to short box for front rowing now. So we did back rowing. Now we're going to do front rowing. Same spring. We're going to have a seat. Grab the straps. Here, sit really nice and tall, feet are on the bed. Exhale, stretch forward. Inhale to bend. Exhale, stretch forward, keep the shoulders away from the ears. Here I want to pretend like I don't have arms. I'm just using my core to stretch my arms forward. Turn the palms to face each other. Inhale, wide and open. Exhale, close. Inhale, open. Exhale, close, and hug something in front of you. Use your core to close the arms. Hug a tree is called. And then offering. Palms are up. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, open to the sides. Inhale, come back to the front again. Exhale, bend. Inhale, grow tall, reach forward. Exhale, open to the sides. Inhale, come back to the front, and exhale, bend. Inhale, reach forward. And exhale, open to the sides. Come back again, palms are up the whole time. Last one, inhale, reach. Exhale, open, close, and bend. Rest. So, actually, let's do one more thing. Let's open the knees, lean forward. And we're going to take our thumbs and index fingers together. They love a little bit of burn. Press And love to have a good workout too. Elbows stay forward. Take the basketball behind your head. Throw the basketball up on that diagonal. Elbows stay forward. If you want to interlace your fingers, you can do. And do this kind of overhead tricep extension for about 20 reps or so. So a lot of reps here before they feel it because the springs are a little light. As the arms reach up and forward diagonal, the ribs should come down, the abdominals should lift, and the baby should come closer to us. If they keep bumping the ropes in their head, that means they're angling too far down. They need to angle upward on the diagonal, on a high diagonal as we exhale. Let's do 3 more. 3, exhale, shoulders down. 2, they need very strong arms, pregnant women. And as the bump grows, you'll notice they can actually add more spring. Now, since the box is here against the shoulder rest already, let's just stabilize the carriage by adding all the springs. Good. Put your feet against the foot strap here. Abduct your legs. Move the flesh under, so you're sitting on your jeans back pockets already. And then you're going to cross your arms over your chest. Lift up through your center. Hug the baby close to you. And just tuck your tailbone under gently, hinging back, more of a C shape. Hinge back, flat back, and then coming. We want a whispering core, not a screaming core. Again, we inhale, hinge back, and exhale. So just to where you feel your core muscles are connecting a little, because you do want a strong core. You just don't want so much pressure in the core that you feel like it's going to adapt to that separation. So inhale to go back, and exhale to come forward. Inhale to go back, hug the baby nice and close to you and feel that's what brings you up and forward. Inhale back and exhale up. Very slight diagonal, lean to one side, like you're saying hello to this shoulder and back. Very slight diagonal, lean to the other side and back. One more time on each side. And the other one. Put your feet up, arms out, and spine twist. 1, like in mat. 2, 3, and center. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, and center. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, and center. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, and center. Take the arms forward. Lean forward, open the legs as wide as you need to, and just pretend you're on the floor. And see if you can have the legs a little bit wider actually than your hips. Lean forward and see if you can come up to standing, zipping up through the core. And then inhale, see if you can come down to sit on the box gracefully. This may not be an option for you. You don't have to go all the way down. Feel free to do these on the floor. And you don't have to, if you feel nervous about being high on the reformer, do these on the floor. So let's go down. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, up. 2, we have to lean forward on the way up and on the way down. That's normal. Don't expect to be straight. Lean forward. Push down and zip up through the pelvic floor on the way up, and then release the pelvic floor on the way down. So zip up through the pelvic floor as you're rising up, and then inhale to come down, releasing the pelvic floor. If anyone wants to do it with the heels high like this is more intense and parallel if they're earlier on in the stages. I'm going to open a little bit wider actually here to pretend I've got this bump in the way. I could go halfway and start pulsing here. This is going to really add some intensity to the quads. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Okay, now let's come down. Move this down. Keep the box where it is, and let's put a blue and a yellow spring. Now this is not going to work, this whole side series is not going to work if the client has SPD, symphysis pubis dysfunction. You know this already, that they don't like abduction, especially loaded abduction like we're going to do now. So let's go. The foot goes on the wooden panel first, and then it goes on the box. And if their balance is not too comfortable here, make sure that you help them by giving them your arm. Go big toe off the edge here, and the other foot is against the box. And we're going to exhale to open. A blue and a yellow is pretty tough actually. That was a bit of a energetic choice of mine. I would say yellow is just fine. Remember, yellow on the peak is heavier than the blue, so opposite of Balanced Body and a lot of other brands. So what I would say is one red and a blue, I guess, should be okay for a Balanced Body, Marathon, those, and a line. Go out and in. I'm feeling a lot of burn here. In fact, it's definitely getting too heavy. So we push, yeah, that's very realistic. The most important thing here when I'm standing is to keep my tailbone tucked under. Okay. Now I'm going to shift my weight to the wooden leg and I'm going to lunge down, keep this one straight and come back up again. It's like I'm sitting on a chair behind me. I go down and up, down and up. Hold it down and bend and stretch. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and close. Then here, you can get them to squat and hold an isometric as you go changing the springs to the lighter spring for them to work their inner thighs, their adductors, but give them plenty of warning that you are going to change the spring so that they don't push out recklessly, because that could be dangerous. Turn your toes out a little bit so you're in a slight external rotation. And then we inhale to open. Now we really want to work our deep core as we close. Pelvic floor again is in action. Deep core. Inhale, open. Exhale, zip up through the pelvic floor. You can give them little hand weights if you want. And feel that wave of contraction, bringing your deep core center all the way up. And relax. Place your hand on the box, step the carriage foot down first, and then come back with the wooden leg. Okay? Now, before we go to the other side, let's shift the box a little bit to the middle and climb on top of it like that. So you're sitting, your feet are on the side like this. We've still got our light swing, so it's an opportunity to do some rotator cuff work to stabilize our shoulders for when we start carrying a lot. You're going to nudge as if you're nudging someone next to you with your elbow, like that. Keeping your shoulders level, and then if you're up for it, you can go nudge and stretch. One sweeping movement. Nudge and stretch, or disco, or pull the sword out of the pocket and out, and then pull it back. Exhale, and then pull it back. Last one. It's very tough, this one on the peak. Peak has very strong springs because it's a classical bed. Take the other hand in the short loop, and you're just going to shoulder press up. Again, you can see how it's a little too heavy on this brand to straighten my arm fully, but on the other brands it's actually very, very doable. Punching the ceiling. Last one. And relax. Well done. We take the strap down, and then we swirl around, come off, move the box all the way back where it was, turn around, step again on the wooden side first. Go back to your slightly heavier spring, so one red spring, or in the peak, one yellow spring. I come back up, I take my big toes off the edge of the wood, and the other one is fully against the carriage. I tuck my tailbone under, and I push away. They need to feel it here, so adjust the spring so that they feel it here in their abductors. Because at the end, we're going to do this for the adductors, so it can't be exactly. Shift your weight now to the wooden leg. Lean, stay on the wooden side as you sit back on your squat. If this doesn't feel right, you can bring your foot to the edge of the carriage instead of the edge of the box. That will make it a bit more intense. Hold it at the bottom, stay there. Bend and stretch. 1, 2, my abductor screaming. 4, breathe continuously. 5, exhale. 6, 7, 8, and return. Now get them holding the isometric squat, little pulses maybe as you go around, warning them and changing the springs to the lightest one, or not necessarily the lightest one that you think they can manage. The foot goes back against the box, but it's also slightly turned out, both of them. We inhale, open, exhale. We're working the inner thighs now, the adductors, and you want to really zip up through the inner thighs, through the pelvic floor. Hug the baby close to you. Inhale, exhale, reach up nice and tall. As I go down, I go up to go down. Feel that two-way oppositional stretch. Lengthen, lengthen. Of course, you can add some slight rotation. One more time. And then take the hand on the box down, move back, move the box towards the middle, have a seat on the box. It's still on the light spring. We start with our nudges. We go to the side, nudging someone. We're working our and of course, deltoids. Using that a lot when we come to baby and hold. I feel you never get free arms. And now exhale, nudge and stretch. And return. Now, pregnant women love to feel excited about the journey. Link everything back to what's coming if you can. To help you carry the baby, to help you with your breastfeeding, to help you counter the effects of breastfeeding, like all this kind of stuff. Then put your hand in the short loop and reach up and return. Obviously, as you know, peak springs are very heavy, so I'm really struggling now, even on the lighter spring. I know it doesn't look right, but I should be straightening my arm all the way up, which most brands you'll be able to. That's why I'm keeping this one in. So let's do 3 more. 3, exhale, reach 2, and last one, 1, and relax. Hang the strap again, come down, and let's move the box here to the rails. Now, on peak, particularly, the box just about fits the rails, so it's a little nerve-wracking, but actually, in most brands, you'll feel very comfortable sitting on the box on this end, but please, if peak, just be careful that it is exactly fitting in the right spot. You're going to take your heels around the edges of the shoulder rests like this, and your legs are turned out. You're sitting nice and tall with your arms behind you, and you're going to open into a frog position like that. This is nice for the pelvic floor again, and the spiraling out, opening of the hips, helping with the labor. So as we exhale, pull in. Maybe even add some pelvic. No, it's quite difficult actually to contract your pelvic floor when your legs are spiraling out like that. At least I find it a little awkward. Adjust the springs so you feel, I would say, a red spring or a red and a yellow. I've got a blue spring on here, but remember, peak springs are much heavier. Hold and pull in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, release. 2 more 8s. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, release. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and release. Well done. I'm not sure if you want to go down the route of putting the box here. Another thing you can do, I'm just giving you ideas to just get them standing, doing a little bit of, cat-cow, which feels lovely. That one, you unpark, and then you release, and then you do your hamstring curls like this, pulling in, nice and tall. That might be a nice, or do both if you have time, and add a little bit of rotation, like this, and then do it on the other side, yeah? So usually what I like to do at this stage is build up the intensity towards the end of the class. We're sitting and standing, either in squats like this, or heel single leg squat, so I shift all my weight to the left side, or even if they're super fit moms, maybe a pistol squat 10 times, followed by dips, chest open, inhale to bend, exhale, stretch. This one, if you see coning, so a lot of moms, for some reason, the dips brings on a lot of coning and maybe too much intra-abdominal pressure. I don't feel that way at all. And I never did. I remember in my pregnancy, I felt nothing like here. So if you are, you just have to tell them, you feel a whispering in your abdominals, great. If you feel screaming in your abdominals in this exercise, then make it easier, or give them some dumbbells and give them something else to do. Then they do the other side. So remember, pistol or toes touching lightly, or if they're unable to do that, just a full squat. So there's options for everybody. 10 reps on the right, some dips, 10 reps on the left, and then so that's a full circuit of being grounded, not on the moving bed, which can feel nice. And then we're going to finish up with some long stretch prep with the knees down. So we're going to have our feet against the shoulder rests. One red spring I think is okay. Here I'm going to put 2 blues on the peak. I'm going to have my heels against the shoulder rest. You want to unpark the carriage so you're in a quarter plank between your knees, hips, and shoulders, one straight line, and then you push away as if you're going to lie down flat on your stomach. Inhale to return. Exhale to push away. Inhale, return. And again, you want to really lift your bump here and feel a whispering core rather than a screaming core. So you should feel some core, and you want to be careful not to arch the back. So really tuck your tailbone under as you push away. And please, if you see them doing this, you make sure you set them up from the beginning, unpark the carriage, tell them. So you're in the straight line, and when you come in, don't park, just stop here. Then they get it. If you allow them to park, trust me, they're going to go back to doing this thing. And then they'll tell you, I don't feel any abs. Right, now we go to the, sorry, if you want to add some spice to this, you can center the left hand, circle the right, come back, circle the left, come back to the center, circle to the right. It's a little bit of thoracic rotation. And then go knee stretch, round back. Knees going back and forth. Actually, with this one, the knee stretches, go flat back first, because the technique is much better when you do flat back. Say, sit on your heels, come up halfway, freeze your body in space here, send your knees back and forth while keeping everything stable like a statue. Your legs are swinging back and forth. And if you want to add the round back, hug the baby nice and close to you here as you pull it in. You'll feel again some more connection in your core and your center as you pull in. The accent is forward in the parking. Remove one. Let's do some stretches now. Push stretch. Put your left foot against the shoulder rest. The bump is big. They usually prefer the right leg turned out like this. Sink and arch so you get the nice stretch through your hip flexor. Inhale to return. Exhale, sink and arch. Inhale, return. One more time. Maybe even adjusting the leg at this point, going into a more of a hamstring stretch. And return, and we go to the other side. Heel against the shoulder rest. Leg turned out if the bump's in the way. And return. Back is nice and arched. And return. We go down. Adjust the leg to center. Go to a bit of a split. And then return. Come round to the back. Do a pigeon stretch. Now, for a lot of lower back pain, pigeon is quite relieving, especially in pregnancy for some reason. If they can't do this, have the foot drop the front here. Change legs. Lower on Merrithew and Peak, you lower the foot bar. For a balanced body, you don't need to lower the foot bar. Put the spring that you have and just put your hands on the edge and stretch it out here. This will feel so good for them. They can do even a bit of cat-cow. Because everything feels so tight in pregnancy because the ligaments are going so lax, the muscles are for dear life. They're feeling tighter and tighter. And then shift the weight back to your feet, ground your feet, and roll all up and around. So I hope that through this class you kind of get the idea that the options are go all out with the legs and the arms and work the core indirectly. And you have tons of options in the reformer. What about feet and strap, single leg glute work? The foot is in the doing all this stuff for the glutes that they love, or the box is sideways and you're on the box like this on your elbow, the strap is around your ankle and you're doing side kick and circles and clams when you do the clams, put the strap around the back of your knee. Yeah, there's loads of options for prenatal, actually way more than mat, because mat, when they get very heavy, they get a bit tired being on the floor, up and down. They like to on a higher surface. So actually most of the pregnant women that I've trained have preferred to do reformer than mat, and because there's a lot more options as well. Mat, there's so much direct core work, so much spine mobilizations that you may feel they're not quite able to be comfortable in at this stage. So any questions you have, feel free to send us a message, and I hope you've gotten some ideas out of this.